Talking with the experts.
Discover why a systems approach to marketing drives faster growth than hacks with Mark Osborne in episode 517.
But a lot of times in business, we tend to just write things down. And so we're not really doing ourselves the best service. Or if we've got collaborators or other advisors in our business, by creating a visual map of how the process works, you get a much better idea, and really creative ideas start to flow from that. The other thing that is really helpful is to really take the time to understand who your ideal customer is, what's the context that's sending them to the market to look for solutions like yours, what's the sort of persona or avatar of the decision makers that will be involved in evaluating your decisions. What does their life look like? What's their context from both a personal and a professional perspective that they're looking to get out of an engagement with you, and even start to think through what's their process.
Talking with the experts.
Welcome to Talking with the Experts, where we believe that success is a journey, and every journey is easier with help from friends. That's why we bring you top-notch experts and real business heroes eager to share their lessons from the road to success. We delve into new topics each week: effective marketing strategies, innovative problem-solving, financial planning, and team building. We tackle everything you need to know to grow your business and keep it thriving. Whether you dream about launching your first startup or a business veteran looking to shake things up, we've got you covered. With each episode, you'll gain knowledge, boost your confidence, and be inspired to take action. So, grab a coffee, make yourself comfortable, and join our exciting journey. You're not alone in this. We're here, guiding you, cheering for you, and celebrating each milestone. Let's turn your business dreams into reality, starting today. Here is your host, Rose Davidson.
Hello, welcome to Talking with the Experts. I'm your host, Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. Talking with the Experts is all about business by business owners for business owners. You can find it on all good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. And if you've ever thought about starting your own podcast, then you're in the right place. You can reach out to me at rose-davidson.com and go up to the coaching tab and you can find all the details there. My guest today is Mark Osborne, and Mark is going to be talking to us about how systems can set us free. Now, as entrepreneurs, we don't often have systems in place. We just, hit and miss and throw things against the wall and hope that it sticks. But Mark's going to take away all of that for us today and show us and describe to us the best way we can do that. Now, Mark is an incredible human being. He is recognised by the Ad Age magazine as a marketing technology trailblazer, and he's a #1 best-selling author on B2B marketing and sales. He brings decades of experience integrating sales, marketing, and customer success to early stage SaaS, tech, and B2B professional services firms. He has delivered tens of millions of dollars in revenue to his clients, often doubling revenues and pipeline in 90 days through his focus on building revenue systems that emphasize strategic approaches to revenue growth. He is the founder of Modern Revenue Strategies, offering 10x ROI B2B growth guarantee. Mark, it is a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks so much, Rose. It's a real pleasure to be here with you.
I'm so glad that it's a good start to the day for me.
We're wrapping up the day here in Los Angeles, so
yes, and hopefully the weather's a little bit better than it has been of recent times. So,
right.
Tell me a little bit about how you arrived at doing what you do now.
Sure. So it's a funny story. I got my start in marketing in college. I was actually managing bands, and this was in the late 90s. And if you or your guests remember back then, there was such a not everyone had access to the internet all the time. And then, in fact, it was sort of something that you got periodic access to. And so instead of websites or even chat rooms, there were billboards where you would go post a notice, and then you would come back and see if someone had responded to your notice on the billboard. It was called BBS Usenet groups or billboards, billboard services. And so I would go on the internet and see that people were trading concert tapes of different artists, and they'd say, well, I have the Dave Matthews Band recorded in, Atlanta, Georgia. Well, their email address was their username, because there's no such thing as spam. And so I started building databases of people that were fans of a particular band that lived in a particular area with their email address. And then when one of the bands that I worked with that sounded like a band I knew they liked went to that area, I'd send them all an email. And so I was selling out concerts for unknown bands, which led to a job at a record label and led to a job in radio and ultimately into marketing. But as I got deeper and deeper into marketing, I really took a lot of pride on using data and technology to sort of find, little gimmicks and little tricks to sort of game the algorithm or find some growth hack that was going to deliver results. But what I found as I got more and more involved with more and more successful marketers was that those growth hacks weren't going to deliver the growth that really successful companies were looking for. And instead, it was a focus on systems that really delivered the type of growth that early stage companies are looking for. When they need to double their revenues every year, you can't get there by having a hack or some sort of gaming the algorithm. You really need a plan, and a plan that's built on systems that scale. And so that's a lot of what the book is written about and sort of the type of work that I do with my clients.
Yeah, we'll talk about the book a little later, but tell me, as a startup, what are some good systems to have in place? And and I mean, I'm a great believer in automation in all things. So it just takes the stress away from a lot of processes that we do. But how can we set up our systems, and what are good systems to start with?
Yeah, so the work that I do tends to focus on revenue systems. And within that, I tend to focus my clients in one of three areas. So it's either on attraction systems. So how do you attract the right prospects into your business? Acceleration systems that can accelerate your opportunities through the sales pipeline so that they move through faster, or activation systems so that you can get more renewals, upsells, referrals, and testimonials from your existing clients. And to sort of prioritize for those, I have a number of benchmarks that I use to, sort of have clients look at, well, what volume of leads are they getting each month, and where do those leads come from? That helps sort of identify, do you need help with attraction systems or something else? And then what percentage are they closing each month, and that actually wind up being good, opportunities for them that really grow their business? Or what percentage of their business comes from referrals, and how many of their clients are churning each month? So with a little bit of diagnostics there, you can create some priority around which of those three areas you want to focus on. And then at that point, what I typically recommend is building what we call a critical client flow, or really just sort of describing, how does someone enter, or how does a prospect or a client enter the start of that system? Then what are all of the sort of opportunities to influence success along the way? What are some KPIs you can use to measure that success, or key performance indicators? And then, what's the outcome that you're seeing today? And then I find that by bringing together your complete revenue team, your marketing folks, your sales folks, your customer success folks, to all collaborate on what are innovative or creative ways that you can impact each of those different stages on that critical client flow, and set goals for yourself of, let's improve this KPI by 10%, or maybe it's 30%, knowing that the upper funnel things in that critical client flow will have downstream effects. And so if we need to attract more, top level leads, hypothesize some ways that you can do that. And we need to do a better job of converting website visitors into, actually engaged customers, hypothesize some ways that you can do that from across the team of marketing, sales, and customer success. And so by having this sort of shared scorecard and hypothesizing ways together that you can align on that, you'll come up with ways that you can implement. And then you have sort of documentation on what it is you're trying to improve, what the, sort of the metric is today, your plan to improve it. And then at the end of 30 days or 60 days, whatever makes sense for your business, you can estimate, well, how well did we do? What could we do better? And restart the cycle. That way you're all working together and collaborating. And if you don't achieve your goals, you can look as a team and say, how did the system let us down? What was it the system didn't do to help us achieve our goals, rather than just wagging your finger at one teammate and being like, well, you didn't do your job or you didn't hit your goals. Instead, it's a team collaborating on building those systems.
Yeah, absolutely. And teamwork is of paramount importance in any funnel or any system that you use anyway, because if one's not talking to the other and there's a blame game, you're not going to get any tangible results, really, are you?
That's right. That's right.
Mm.
And we even see the scenario in, working with marketing and sales teams where a marketing team might be hitting their goals of leads, but the sales team isn't hitting their goals of revenue or closes. Well, it's because they're really not bringing in the right types of leads. And so because they're operating in different, sort of silos, it becomes that blame game of, well, you didn't bring us the right leads. Well, you didn't close the leads I gave you. Whereas if instead they're collaborating and they both have a shared business outcome, which is new revenue for the business, then marketing will start to get creative about, well, how do we measure quality of leads better up front? And sales will sort of feel more invested in trying to close the leads that they get rather than assuming that they aren't qualified.
Yeah, as a startup, I guess, people look at different types of software that they can use to capture all these leads and pass it on to, well, if they're just a solopreneur at, starting out, and you don't have a team, how can they use their own imagination, for a better word, to get from the marketing to the sales and come up with these new ideas?
Yeah. So one of the things that I find is helpful is, something like 65% of the population is primarily visual. But a lot of times in business, we tend to just write things down. And so we're not really doing ourselves the best service. Or if we've got collaborators or, other advisors in our business, by creating a visual map of how the process works, you get a much better idea, and really creative ideas start to flow from that. The other thing that is really helpful is to really take the time to understand who your ideal customer is, what's the context that's sending them to the market to look for solutions like yours, what's the sort of persona or avatar of the decision makers that will be involved in evaluating your decisions. What does their life look like? What's their context from both a personal and a professional perspective that they're looking to get out of an engagement with you? And even start to think through what's their process of becoming aware of the problem, prioritizing the problem, evaluating different ways to solve it, evaluating different vendors that solve it in that way. And if you can really sort of visualize those things and empathize with your marketplace, that leads to a lot of really creative and innovative solutions on how to move that from marketing to sales. And you start to hypothesize ways to impact those different KPIs that you've built in your system as measures of success.
Yeah, that's a really good process too for, putting it in a visual context, and put it on your wall.
That's
that way
right.
you can look to see that, if you're not following the process or something changes, you can find out where the mistake is in the process and fix that. So that's a really good, that's a really good tip, Mark. Thank you for sharing that. I want to talk a little bit about your book.
Sure.
Yeah. So what's the title of it?
Yeah, so the title of the book is Are Your Leads Killing Your Business? Which is a little bit sort of a surprising title, because most businesses feel like I need more leads, I need more leads, I need more leads. But what we have seen over the past 20 years, and it's even accelerated since the pandemic lockdowns and some of the changing landscape for B2B businesses, is the best leads in the marketplace. Your best competitors have built systems to attract those best opportunities, to accelerate them through and close them, and then to sort of activate them and retain that business. And so if you don't have those systems in place, you as a business are left with really the worst leads in the marketplace. And the problem with those worst leads in the marketplace is they don't really understand why your approach to the solution is good. And so as a result, they'll ask you to customize a lot of things or to do a lot of extra work for them. They also don't really believe in the value proposition that you offer. And so they'll ask for discounts, or they'll want really low negotiated rates. And then because they didn't really believe in your approach, and then they never really believed in the value, they're unlikely to renew, or much less grow or make referrals for you. And so as a result, they wind up taking a lot of your resources. And if you think about that 80-20 rule of 80% of your revenues comes from just 20% of your customers, you wind up spending, though, 80% of your resources on that 20% of your revenues, because these worst leads, they distract you from focusing on those best opportunities from a sort of sales perspective. They distract you from building the products and services that will really catapult your company to be sort of the market leader in terms of the offering that you have. And they don't sort of pay you back long term, because they're sort of really low costs, and they are never willing to sort of pay you what you're worth or renew or bring in new customers. As a result, they're pulling you further and further behind your competitors. And so what we've actually seen is that if you're not capturing the best leads in the marketplace and doing the work it takes to close those deals and doing the work it takes to grow those accounts, you're actually killing your business because those bad leads are pulling you behind the competition.
Yeah. So I guess, a question that could be asked by somebody that's new is, what is a bad lead?
That's right. Well, it starts by really understanding your business. And we call it sort of a product vision or a buying vision. So most people that sort of, go to business, it's because they see a better way to do things. They have a belief that, there's a bunch of other people out there doing it either this way or that way, but I've got a new way that's better. And maybe it's better because it's faster, or it's more accurate, or maybe you've just found a way to do it cheaper. In some way you have a better mousetrap. But that better mousetrap is part of sort of a long-term vision. You've built something for today, but you have a vision for where your marketplace is going and what you want to be building for tomorrow. And so when you really understand where you believe the market is going and why your solution is better than the alternatives, that's that product and buying vision. And so by attracting leads that believe that same thing, then they'll really understand where you're taking your product and solution. They'll want to partner with you for the long term. They'll want to pay you what you're worth, because they know that you're going to keep investing in improving the product for them, and they want to be with you for a long time. Those are good leads. And those are the ones that, when you are putting out the right messaging into the marketplace, you'll attract leads that are aligned with you. Those deals close themselves. You don't have to negotiate a lot on price because they believe in the value. And once they become your clients, they're happy to renew and, in fact, want to expand their relationship with you and are happy to tell other people in the marketplace about what a great experience they've had, because they're really aligned with your long-term product or buying vision. And one of the ways that we help our clients, sorry to cut you off, Rose, one of the ways we help our clients identify that is we use what we call an ideal customer profile. And we'll take, all of the clients they've worked with over the last couple years, look at those that represented the top, sort of 20% or the top 80% of revenues or 20% of clients, that same kind of Pareto principle. And then we look at what's similar between them. And oftentimes we find there are similar things from a firmographic perspective, like they're all of a similar size or in a similar industry. But the thing that's really insightful is they have a similar context. They decided to go to market and look for solutions when they encountered something in their business context. And it's that similar context that when you really understand, allows you to sort of attract those best opportunities.
Yeah, really good points there. And a lot of it has to do with your content marketing too. So,
Right.
Using the right words and to attract that ideal client. And before you can even do that, of course, you need to know who your avatar is, and you've got to be very clear on that. And a lot of us, when we start out, aren't. They just want to, throw mud at the wall and hope that it sticks, and don't, drill those holes down and find out who their ideal client is. I mean, I'm not a great believer in what type of clothes they wear and, what kind of car they drive and all of those other things. I think, to me, that's irrelevant, because I offer my services to service-based business owners, but they don't have
Right.
to drive a particular car, and they don't have to live in a certain suburb. And to me, I think that's it's nonsensical to be that specific.
Well, again, I think.
Well, depending on what you're doing, I think,
That's right. Well, and also from our conversation, I think you tend to be more of a kind of logically oriented person, and so do you approach it that way. But some people that are a little more emotive, they really gain a lot more empathy for their customer and that customer avatar by thinking about, well, what kind of car do they drive? But it's a way of unlocking that understanding of your customer. Different people are sort of connect to it in different ways.
Yeah, that's very true too, I guess, but what works for one may not work for another. So,
That's right.
but but it is important how you show up in the world, I think. And if you're sort of inauthentic in your messaging, and people can see through that, and
That's very true.
Don't just throw mud at the wall and hope that it sticks, because it won't work.
That's very true.
Yeah. All right, Mark. So your book, where is it available?
Yeah. So I'm actually going to give a special offer for the first 50 listeners of your podcast that go to modernrevenuestrategies.com/free download. So all one word, modernrevenuestrategies.com/free download. They can get the full book there for free. And in fact, not only will they get the book, they'll get a number of templates for building the ideal customer profile, for building out their customer avatars or personas for their decision makers. And I'll also include an email series that has hours of free bonus video trainings to talk them through how to develop, sort of really differentiated positioning strategy, so they can have positioning that creates demand while generating awareness. How to create systems so that they can unify their marketing, sales, and customer success teams around these goals and objectives, and how to really dissect their customer journey so that they can find opportunities to impact them, so they can save thousands in advertising costs by finding really unique and innovative ways to connect with their customers that's not just buying more ads.
Well, that's a really generous offer, Mark. Thank you so much for that. And so don't forget, the first 50 people to go to Mark's site can get this free book downloaded for them. Mark, where can our other places that people can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So at the website, modernrevenuestrategies.com, or feel free to email me directly, Mark with a K at modernrevenuestrategies.com.
Wonderful. Now, we talked a little bit before coming on camera about your words of wisdom. I would love you to reshare those, because I thought they were brilliant.
Sure. So we have a phrase around here that, B2B growth systems will set you free, and free from the conflict that you have in your team of, marketing and sales pointing the finger at each other because they're unified around one system for success that they both have the opportunity to impact. Free from worrying about hitting your forecast because you know what those leading indicators are for success, and you've got systems in place that are impacting them and a way to come together and hypothesize ways to improve them, and even sort of free from dependence on ad agencies that oftentimes will just tell you to spend more money, or consultants that sort of keep you waiting on them for yet another hook or yet another growth hack that they're going to sell you in the next month. So building these systems in your business for growth and revenue really will set you free from both, conflict, worry, as well as that dependence on external actors.
Absolutely brilliant. It's great words, and I think that if people take them on board, their systems will be a lot better, and they'll be able to utilize and get more clients.
Well, we've seen it time and time again, Rose. We oftentimes see our clients double their revenues in 90 days or less by implementing these systems.
Yeah, systems, as I said early at the beginning, I love systems, but marketing systems is one of my failings, I'm afraid, because
there's still time. They'll set you free.
Absolutely will. Absolutely will. Mark, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing with my audience today about, how systems can work in their business and why they're so necessary.
Thanks so much, Rose. It's been a real good time.
Bye-bye for now.
Bye.
You've been listening to Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson. Make sure you have a look at our back catalogue over at talkingwiththeexperts.com. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any episode. We look forward to your company next time. Talking with the Experts.